Hi guys, in this video we're going to take a look at Friday of the UK Games Expo 2022.
Scruffy Crow.
Okay, so one of the first things that struck me was just the immense size of this place. It put shows even like Salute and definitely Partisan that was out last week to shame. The entrance was completely dominated by the Catan stall and the Warhammer stall, because I think they were the main sponsors. The Warhammer area had a huge presence. They had a whole bunch of painting tables and then a sort of fairly large store area where a few of my friends stopped just to grab a mini, one of the sort of special edition minis. But there was no way you could even really enter the event without walking through the Games Workshop section, which is probably very cunning on their part. This was another stall, which was Tritex Games, right in the entrance as well. Cool selection of D&D bits and awesome selection of dice. I thought how colourful this looks. I quickly realised though that I wasn't going to be able to sort of film and look at every single stall like this. So for the most part, this video is just going to be a little wander around. It was a couple of stalls actually selling some really nice sort of premium gaming furniture. I'd absolutely love one of these. It's a big 6x4 one with cup holders in the back. So this was one of the two that were quite close to each other, but really nice stuff. Yeah, this is the other one. And just I'd just love something a bit like that. That'd be such a nice thing to have. So the main focus of this expo was board games with sort of D&D as well, and less so miniatures. But there were some places selling miniatures like this place, maybe printed ones, but with more of a D&D bent, which is fair enough. Once again, it was interesting to see 3D printed stuff for sale that was the same quality as I could do at home. Another big difference that this show had on other ones I've been was stuff like these clothes and accessories. There was a lot more sort of accessories than you normally see. There was jewellery and t-shirts and all sorts of other bits and pieces like that.
Then I'm going to do the same again because I have two shoes.
There was also a sort of bit more of a focus on the D&D front, so it's a dice shop. Instead of bringing their normal sort of huge piles of wargaming dice, we're showing off their sort of really nice premium gem dice and trays and dice towers and all that stuff. They did have some cheaper dice with them, but once again it seemed to be more of a sort of D&D thing. And this is what I was saying earlier, we've got sort of art prints. It's not something I've seen at a show, the wargaming show before. It's more of a D&D thing. Some more of those sort of more D&D focused sort of accessories. Very cool, very premium sort of luxury objects. Once again, some more sort of lovely sort of premium dice. TT Combat was there. They had a huge selection of terrain like normal. Very impressive store layout they had. And once again, I was kind of tempted by their table deals, which is like a 150 quid to the terrain for £100. So that seems one day I'll take them up on that. There was some cool little stalls showing off some innovative stuff. Like this was a sort of D&D management system, I believe. It was all hooked to computers. There was a whole bunch of smaller stalls just pushing one particular game. Which was kind of cool, and there was games there for sort of all ages. This one was the one that sort of caught my attention, just because I think I've seen adverts for it before, and it just caught my imagination. We also spent quite a lot of time at the Archeon stall, which is what we're looking at here, having a go at a pre-sale version of their game, their new fantasy game. These are the guys that made the Hero Quest game I was looking at the other day. There was a load of sort of little miniatures gaming areas as well to one side, and there was some gas lines and food and things that we played. But the most of the downstairs hall was the board game company selling their bits. Upstairs there was more sort of company stalls, pushing their selection of board games. One thing I did notice though was there was quite a lot of places selling the same board games. So the same way as if you go to Salute, you get quite a lot of stalls selling the same miniatures from say Fantasy Flight or Warhammer and Bitrix and stuff. You'll see the same miniatures for sale in multiple places. It was kind of like that here. There was a few places just retailing board games, so you'd see the same board games in a few places, which is fine because I think that's the focus of this space. But it was a lot more interesting to look at the stands, selling the specific bits and pieces that I hadn't seen before. There was also a lot more sort of bookstores for stuff like D&D than you'd see at most places. So we're in the second hall now, since we went upstairs, and this was quite an interesting idea. There was sort of a family area with a whole bunch of little game tables, with fun little participation games, a little bit of cosplay. There was an interesting big and buy area. There was a lot less miniatures in here than I expected, but there were a few cool little bits and pieces. I ended up picking up a copy of Eclipse for fairly cheap actually, and the stuff in the bring and buy was getting replaced almost as soon as it was getting bought, which was quite interesting. There were a few miniatures games getting demoed there, some stuff I hadn't seen before, like this game which I can't remember the name of. If I go and look at that, which had a really weird scale, which is why it struck me. It was a sort of 30 or 40 mil scale. So yeah, Conquest. So yeah, said more miniature stores that you see at most of the shows like Bad Squiddo. But one of the things I thought was interesting here is that they supplied like colouring in pages and things. Once again, just showing that this was more of a child sort of friendly event than most of the others. And finally, for the second room, this was a table which I believe was put together by Luke APS and was being manned by the guys from Modelling for Advantage. And I actually didn't realise this was Luke's table until someone pointed it out. And in hindsight, I do actually recognise some of it from some of the videos that I have watched recently. But yeah, it was a really nice table. Really nice sort of demo game as well, actually. And then finally, third hall is the gaming space. So there was a couple of cool things in here. This middle section here was sort of open gaming, is what they're calling it. And that little hut in the middle was full of board games that you could loan out and play, which was kind of cool. And there was an enormous space in here. We didn't really spend much time in here, we were just having a quick glance around. And then as we moved across, there were the sort of organised play areas that you can kind of see now, for all stuff like X-Wing and a bunch of the card games and things. A couple of guys I was with, you can see them two in the middle, pointed out that this was a lot smaller than it has been in previous years, for whatever reason. But it was still interesting to see this area, and I believe it's probably picked up a bit on the Saturday. We were only Friday and it was getting quite late at this point, so I think a lot of the games are probably finished. All in all, it was a great show, not something I'm desperate to visit again because it wasn't really aimed at the same sort of interests I have, but if there was room in the car going up again next year, I'll probably come along for the ride because it definitely was interesting. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments, maybe subscribe for more, and as ever, thanks for watching, bye!